Chapter 23. How Robin Hood and Maid Marian were wed. And 2 verses here from the old ballads. Stand up again, then, said the king. I'll thee thy pardon give. Stand up, my friend. Who can contend when I give leave to live? Then Robin Hood began a health to Marian, his only dear, and his yeomen all, both comely and tall, did quickly bring up the rear. Your pardon, sire, exclaimed Robin Hood, pardon from your royal bounty for these my men who stand ready to serve you all your days. Richard of the Lionheart looked grimly about over the kneeling band. Is it as your leader says? He asked. Aye, my lord king, burst from 70 throats at once. We be not outlaws from choice alone, continued Robin, but have been driven to outlawry through oppression. We have ever been your majesty's faithful servants, and have but resisted the oppression of unfaithful servants of the crown. Your dear have been slain by us. Abbots we have relieved of their oft ill-gotten riches. Yet have we befriended the poor and aided the widow and fatherless. Grant us grace and royal protection, and we will forsake the greenwood and follow the king. Richard's eyes sparkled as he looked from one to another of this stalwart band, and he thought within himself that here, indeed, was a royal bodyguard worth the while. Swear, he said in his rich, full voice, swear that you, Robin Hood, and all your men from this day henceforth will serve your king. We swear, came once more the answering shout from the yeomen. Rise then, good Robin, said King Richard. I give you all free pardon, and will speedily put your service to the test. For I love such archers as you have shown yourselves to be, and it were a sad pity to degree such men to death. England could not produce the like again for many a day. But in sooth, I cannot allow you to roam in the forest and shoot my deer, nor to take the law of the land into your hands. Therefore, I now appoint you to be royal archers and mine own special bodyguard. There will be 1 or 2 civil matters to settle with certain Norman noblemen, in which I crave your aid. Thereafter, the half of your number, as may later be determined, shall come back to these woodlands as royal foresters. Perhaps you will show as much zeal in protecting my preserves as you have formerly shown in hunting them. Where now is that outlaw known as Little John? Stand forth. Here, sire, quoth the giant, doffing his cap. Good master Little John, said the king, looking him over approvingly. Could your weak sinews stand the strain of an office in the shire? If so, you are this day Sheriff of Nottingham, and I trust you will make a better official than the man you relieve. I shall do my best, sire, said Little John, great astonishment and gladness in his heart. Master Scarlet, stand forth, said the king, and then, addressing him, I have heard somewhat of your tale, quoth he, and that your father was the friend of my father. Now, therefore, accept the royal pardon and resume the care of your family estates, for your father must be growing old. And come you to London the next court day, and we shall see if there be a knighthood vacant. Likewise the king called for Will Stutely, and made him chief of the royal archers. Then he summoned Friar Tuck to draw near. I crave my king's pardon, said the priest humbly enough, for who am I to lift my hand against the Lord's anointed? Nay, the Lord sent the smiter to thee without delay, returned Richard, smiling, and 'tis not for me to continue a quarrel between church and state. So what can I do for you in payment of last night's hospitality? Can I find some fat living where there are no wicked to chastise, and where the work is easy and comfortable? Not so, my liege, replied Tuck. I wish only for peace in this life. Mine is a simple nature, and I care not for the fripperies and follies of court life. Give me a good meal and a cup of right brew, health and enough for the day, and I ask no more. Richard sighed. You ask the greatest thing in the world, brother, contentment. It is not mine to give or to deny. But ask your God for it, and if he belike he grant it, then ask it also on behalf of your king." He glanced round once more at the foresters. "Which one of you is Allen a Dale?" he asked. And when Allen had come forward, "So," said the king with sober face, "you are that errant minstrel who stole a bride at Plympton, despite her would-be groom and attending bishop. I heard something of this in former days. Now, what excuse have you to make?" "Only that I loved her, sire, and she loved me," said Allen simply, "and the Norman lord would have married her perforce because of her lands." "Which have since been forfeited by the Bishop of Hereford," added Richard. "But my Lord Bishop must disgorge them, and from tomorrow you and Mistress Dale are returned to them and live in peace and loyalty. And if ever I need your harp at court, stand ready to attend me, and bring also the lady. Speaking of ladies," he continued, turning to Robin Hood, who had stood silent, wondering if a special punishment were being reserved for him, "did you not have a sweetheart who was once at court, one Mistress Marian? What has become of her, that you should have forgotten her?" "Nay, your Majesty," said the black-eyed page, coming forward blushingly, "Robin has not forgotten me." "So," said the king, bending to kiss her small hand in all gallantry. "Verily, as I have already thought within myself, this Master Hood is better served than the king in his palace. But are you not the only child of the late Earl of Huntingdon?" "I am, sire, though there might be some who say that Robin Hood's father was formerly the rightful Earl of Huntingdon. Nevertheless, neither he is advantaged nor I, for the estates are confiscate." "Then they shall be restored forthwith," cried the king, "and lest you two should revive the ancient quarry over them, I bestow them upon you jointly. Come forward, Robin Hood." Robin came and knelt before his king. Richard drew his sword and touched him upon the shoulder. "Rise, Robert Fitzooth, Earl of Huntingdon," he exclaimed, while a mighty cheer arose from the band and rent the air of the forest. "The first command I give you, my Lord Earl," continued the king when quiet was restored, "is to marry Mistress Marian without delay." "May I obey all your Majesty's commands as willingly," cried the new Earl of Huntingdon, drawing the old Earl's daughter close to him. "The ceremony shall take place tomorrow, and this maid is willing." "She makes little protest," said the king, "so I shall e'en give away the bride myself." Then the king chatted with others of the foresters, and made himself as one of them for the evening, rejoicing that he could have this careless freedom of the woods. And Much, the miller's son, and Arthur a Bland, and Middle, and Stuteley, and Scarlet, and Little John, and others played at the quarterstaff, giving and getting many lusty blows. Then, as the shades of night drew on, the whole company, knights and foresters, supped and drank around a blazing fire, while Allen sang sweetly to the thrumming of the harp, and the others joined in the chorus. 'Twas a happy, carefree night, this last one together under the greenwood tree. Robin could not help feeling an undertone of sadness that it was to be the last, for the charm of the woodland was still upon him. But he knew 'twas better so, and that the new life with Marian and in the service of his king would bring its own joys. Then the night deepened, the fire sank but was replenished, and the company laid down to rest. The king, at his own request, spent the night in the open. Thus they slept, king and subject alike, out under the stars, cared for lovingly by nature, kind mother of us all. In the morning the company was early astir and on its way to Nottingham. It was a goodly cavalcade. First rode King Richard of the Lionheart, with his tall figure set forth by the black armour and waving plume in his helm. Then came Sir Richard of the Lee with 80 knights and men-at-arms, and after them came Robin Hood and Maid Marian riding upon milk-white steeds. Allen a Dale also escorted Mistress Dale on horseback, for she was to be matron of honour at the wedding. These were followed by 70 archers clad in their bravest Lincoln green, and with their new bows unstrung in token of peace. Outside the gates of Nottingham town they were halted. "Who goes there?" asked the warder's surly voice. "Open to the King of England," came back the clear answer, and the gates were opened and the bridge let down without delay. Almost before the company had crossed the moat, the news spread through the town like wildfire. "The king is here! The king is here, and hath taken Robin Hood!" From every corner flocked the people to see the company pass, and wildly did they cheer for the king, who rode smilingly with bared head down through the marketplace. At the far end of it he was met by the sheriff, who came up puffing in his haste to do the king honour. He fairly turned green with rage when he saw Sir Richard of the Lee and Robin Hood in the royal company, but made low obeisance to his master. "Sir Sheriff," quoth the king, "I have come to rid the shire of outlaws, according to my promise. There be none left, for all have now taken service with their king. Unless there should be further outbreak, I have determined to place in charge of this shire a man who fears no other man in it. Master Little John is hereby created Sheriff of Nottingham, and you will turn over the keys to him forthwith." The sheriff bowed, but dared utter no word. Then the king turned to the Bishop of Hereford, who had also come up to pay his respects. "Hark ye, my lord bishop," quoth he, "the stench of your evil actions has reached our nostrils. We shall demand strict accounting for certain seizures of land and certain acts of oppression which ill become a churchman. But of this later. This afternoon you must officiate at the wedding of 2 of our company in Nottingham church, so make you ready." The bishop also bowed and departed, glad to escape a severer censure for the time. The company then rode on to the mansion house, where the king held high levee through all the noon hours, and the whole town made holiday. In the afternoon the way from Mansion House to Nottingham church was lined with cheering people as the wedding party passed by. The famous bowmen were gazed at as curiously as though they had been wild animals, but were cheered none the less. Robin, who had long been held in secret liking, was now doubly popular since he had the king's favour. Along the way ahead of the king and the smiling bride and groom-to-be ran little maids strewing flowers, while streamers floated in greeting from the windows. I ween the only hearts that were not glad this day were those of the old sheriff and of his proud daughter, who peered between the shutters of her windows and was like to eat out her heart from envy and hatred. At last the party reached the church, where the king dismounted lightly from his horse and helped the bride to alight, while Will Scarlet, the best man, assisted Mistress Dale. Within the church they found the bishop robed in state, and by his side Friar Tuck, who had been especially deputed to assist. The service was said in Latin, while the organ pealed forth softly. The king gave away the bride, as he had said, and afterward claimed first kiss for his pains. Then the happy party dispersed, and Robin and Marian passed out again through the portal, man and wife. Out through the cheering streets they fared, while the greenwood men ran ahead and flung gold pennies right and left in their joy, and bade the people drink the health of the young couple and the king. Then the whole party took horse at Will Scarlet's earnest wish, and went down to Gamewell Lodge, where old Squire George wept for joy at seeing his son and the king and the wedding party. That night they spent there and feasted, and the next day Sir Richard of the Lee claimed them. And thus, amid feasting and rejoicing and kingly favour, Robin Hood, the new Earl of Huntingdon, and his bride began their wedded life.